Hello everyone. To make a path or a platform out of wild, or as it's also called, natural stone, also known as sandstone or flagstone, we'll need the bare minimum of tools. Everything starts by marking out the area. According to the technical assignment that Ginny received, we need to make a path that runs right along our utility and entertainment building, and it should be no narrower than the wheelbase of this wheelbarrow. A path leading into the garden, which is a continuation of the one that already exists and suddenly ended more than 10 years ago. As it reaches the garden, the path gently turns and winds between the fruit trees. I'm personally familiar with such paths. We've been using them since the late 2000s, so I know both the advantages and disadvantages of their different types. I hope I've grown enough to give advice on this. The first option is expensive and labor-intensive, a path made by laying natural stone on a solid reinforced concrete base. You can use thinner flagstone, around 1.5 to 2 centimeters thick. Grass does not grow through the path. But after standing for over 10 years in our Belarusian climate, which is known for many freeze-thaw cycles during the cold season, the path already needs repairs. The stone on the blind area and on the base of the house holds up better. It gets less precipitation. Footage from Retro Chronicles during the construction of the house confirms the very high material consumption of the process. Serious foundation preparation, reinforcement, concrete, and more recent footage demonstrates the very high labor intensity. First, to improve adhesion or bonding, the stone needs to be thoroughly cleaned and washed. Selection and trimming set natural stonework apart from artificial materials. Because of uneven thickness, more frost-resistant tile adhesive or special high-quality mortar is used. At the time, this work and these materials consumed a significant portion of our landscaping budget, so there wasn't enough money left for complete landscaping around the estate. And we definitely won't be doing such labor-intensive work today. There's a much simpler solution. This path was created by placing natural stone on a sand base. The advantages are, it doesn't require material-intensive and labor-intensive concreting, the path is easy to repair, and if part of it sinks, you can just remove some stones, add more sand, and lay them back again. Water flows through the path, preventing puddles. Disadvantages include grass growing between the stones, though many consider that a benefit. Ours became overgrown too, so before this shoot, I trimmed it with a trimmer. You need thicker stones, but the main issue is that heaving soils like ours with high clay content are prone to frost heave. These paths are unpredictable. And here's a clear example of that. This depression formed a few years after the paving, and it's not the only one. Even the paving tiles managed to sink in some places and rise up in others, despite the fact that the base was prepared very carefully before they were laid. So without extra funds or interest in tough concrete work, and also not wanting to pay for walkways that behave unpredictably and have a life of their own, I chose to wait for modern technologies that will simplify and lower costs like other recent innovations. Looks like I waited long enough. Soon you'll see how easy everything is now. For now, I'm cutting the sod with a spade and removing the soil to about the depth of its blade. That's more than enough. To use this modern technology, the bottom needs to be level and have a slight slope. I do this by switching from a spade to a rounded blade shovel. You can also use a screed or something straight to level it, but the shovel was enough for me. I don't loosen the bottom soil on purpose, so I won't tamp it more. A light rain proved my eyes right. There's a slope. This is the slope I ended up with. Because I'm tied to the existing terrain, the slopes of the path's bottom go left and right, and the whole bottom is sloped away from the building. Away from the building. Here's a cross-section of the old path we'll connect to this one. There's just no more than 20 centimeters of river sand, and that's it. If you can handle frost heaving, this is likely the cheapest and easiest natural stone garden path option. And now modern technologies are already at our doorstep. This is the profiled membrane planter Geo, produced by Techno-Nickel, and the special tape Hermetic, also by Techno-Nickel. The membrane is high-density polyethylene, with its protrusion thermally bonded to a geotextile filter layer. roll is 2 meters wide and 15 meters long. After measuring, I cut the needed piece. And since our path is not very wide, I also cut planter geo lengthwise. It cuts easily with a regular utility knife. There are several ways to lay this miracle membrane. I fold one edge up vertically. With my path's width, there's little waste. To join the sheets together, according to the technology, you need an overlap of 4 rows of bumps. For reliable fixation, we'll need sealing tape. So how does all this work? The membrane laid at the bottom with a slight slope diverts the water seeping through the path towards side A, and in my case, also further away from the building. It's kind of like a path in a blind area, 2 in 1. Thanks to this, the heaving soil under the membrane doesn't get over-moistened and stops being heaving, since it's the moisture that causes it to heave. That's because it can hold a lot of water. In winter, water freezes, expands, and deforms things. No, if there's no excess water in the soil, there's no heaving, no trouble. Sticky and clingy. To make everything more reliable, we'll also use double-sided tape. The material is so nice I wanted to take my shoes off. Great, but there's a small flaw. Now it's perfect. After watching online tutorials on how to lay this material, I saw how professionals ruthlessly cut off the excess planter so that the freed geotextile can be wrapped upwards. In Belarus, after a year focused on frugality, I was inspired to use my wife's geotextile in the construction. This way, the planter will last longer, save money, and my wife might not notice, at least until spring. It's a good thing I decided to take my shoes off. I hardly brought in any dirt, and the tape sticks perfectly to the clean material. The geotextile I'm adding won't prevent water from draining through the plinth, but it will keep the fertile soil from mixing with the sand that I'll use to fill everything in. And the river sand, staying clean, will ensure easy water penetration from the surface of the path down to the membrane, and there won't be any puddles forming. How Planter Geo provides water drainage. The bumps prevent the geotextile from touching most of the membrane surface, and it works like a sieve, holding back the sand and letting water through, which then flows away along the planter between the bumps. That's why you need a sloped bottom. Ingenious things are simple, and walking on them barefoot is pleasant. Maybe I'll make the next path out of a single Planter Geo. I'm taking sand from the stash I set up back during construction for needs like this. And it's not that clean on top, it'll get better as I go deeper. We don't buy a whole truckload for just a few paths. Then there will be a problem of how to get rid of the excess, and everyone around has already built everything. And sand in bags is for show-offs. This is real sand. I soak everything thoroughly so it compacts well, and then I have to tamp it down less. Suddenly I decided to turn to the forces of nature for this. Pouring water through the meter is expensive, but apparently it's not enough. I asked for water, but nothing happened. I asked again, even more sincerely. And the heavens opened. And the rains did the work of compacting the sand for me. Then I began using top quality sand from my stash. For the next 4 days, the skies stayed open with few breaks. I was going to ask them to close, but the rain stopped on the 5th day. The whims of nature become very noticeable when you have to work outside, whether it's building a house or paving a garden path. You should also be careful when choosing natural stone, so that speculators don't sell you a lower grade that layers and crumbles in your hands. Here's a life hack to help you buy at the lowest price. When we needed stone, not just for a single path like now, but for paving a much larger area, we bought it directly at the extraction site. I found our truck driver who bought and delivered the stone from the Rostov region over 1,000 kilometers directly to me in Gomel. I only overpaid for the return trip since he took his own cargo to Rostov. Buying from local companies still includes transportation costs and a significant markup. A small stack in the retro footage, that's at least 12 tons of natural material. This time I bought the stone locally. After finding out the Belarusian price, I had to focus not on the required square meters, but on the amount allocated by the family budget for this path. I even waited again on the floor scaffolding when I saw the small pile delivered for quite a lot of money. I'm not distrustful or boring, I just thought there was a mistake, but there was actually about 10% more stone than listed on the invoice. Guys, transport the stone straight from Rostov. As a reference, I stretch a string and do the final leveling of the sand surface with the first flat object I can find. I'll also try to slope the path away from the building to fully comply with technology. Behind the shed, I found a well-preserved hand tamper from the construction days. It's tamped a lot over the years. I stopped leaving footprints, meaning the sand is well packed. The rest is not difficult at all. The stone is about the same thickness, and I just lay it on the surface after adding a little sand. I tamp it down with a tamper, since pounding on such huge stones with a rubber mallet is much less effective. Pure creativity starts. If the stone is of good quality and at least 4 centimeters thick, it can easily withstand the blows of the tamper. When you select the stones yourself, you eliminate the step where someone could be blamed for joints that are too thick, an unattractive pattern, or uneven laying. This time, I decided to completely avoid using the grinder for trimming and just lay the stones as they fit, let it look a bit more rugged. The first part went well, so I can move to the next. If a stone is thinner than the others, I add a bit more sand underneath it. If it's thicker, I remove a little sand from its spot. I tried to lay them so that the surface of the path is about half the thickness of the stone above ground level. I fill the joints with sand and pour water over them. It's better not to overdo it here. You want the sand to stay in place, not get washed away, so it seeps under the edges of the stones and holds them better. I think it turned out pretty well. I'm trimming the extra geotextile. The technical task is complete. Currently, only the hose runs through the garden, but we're already collecting stones to extend the path. Fortunately, we still have enough planter geo. I'll put the Miracle Membrane link below the video. Please like, subscribe to my channel, and my second live channel. Both links are under the video. Only the most dedicated have watched the latest video so far. Be sure to hit the bell as well, and then I'll definitely keep you informed. Thank you,